Well, hey, everybody. Happy Sunday morning to you, November 10th. Getting ready to record Mike in the Midwest with my raspy voice. But let's do this on 3 hours sleep. Let's see what we got. Here we go. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 224 of Mike in the Midwest, our mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Of course, my name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast. You can find me on the socials at Be Our Guest Mike. That would be Instagram, Threads, Twitter, all the places. Mostly in the Be Our Guest podcast clubhouse. That's the easiest way to find me at. It's beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse. I'm sorry, I'm functioning on 3 hours of sleep, but it was worth it. We got home late last night from the Mizzou game, and what a game it was. That's why my voice is the way it was. Man, I always kind of start off the show by talking about what's going on here in the BR Guest Podcast Studios, and I know that not everybody's a sports fan. But let me tell you, last night was kind of a story of my life as a Missouri resident, because I've talked about this here on the show, that being a Mizzou fan, being a fan of the University of Missouri, is we are one of those schools that, for the most part of my life, of my 50 years here on the earth, we've flashed good every once in a while as a sports franchise. When Mallory was born, we had a shot 1 week to be the number one team in the country and didn't get it. If we'd had a win that week, we'd have been number one in the country. Didn't get it. We were number two. And we're always pretty good, but not great. And we're in a really tough country conference. We play really good teams. And this year we're pretty good. We had a really good season last year. But anyway, we're playing this rivalry game against Oklahoma, this team that really doesn't like us. We really don't like them. We haven't played them in Columbia, where we play, where Mizzou is. We haven't played them since 2010. We have not played them since Mallory was 2 years old. It's been a while. It's been a minute since they've come to our school. So it was like a big game last night. Finally got a night game. We're all excited. Weather was perfect. Perfect. Hey, Veronica, thanks for being here. Shout out, Jason. Talk a little football real quick. Perfect night in Mizzou. And of course, our quarterback's hurt. Their running back's hurt. It's like a mash squad. Like, it's going to be a game of attrition. It's an ugly game for most of the game. We have season tickets. We go to every game no matter what. And we're just sitting here just watching this thing unfold as we knew it would. It takes us 2 hours to get to the football stadium, because we live in St. Louis. It's 2 hours to get to Mizzou each way. So we get there. The best part is we when you go to Columbia, there's good places to eat. One of the places, if you ever go to Columbia, Shakespeare's Pizza is what they're known for. Wicked good pizza. Go there, get the pizza. It's awesome. So we had Shakespeare's before the game with my sister-in-law and brother-in-law and nephew, Austin. Shout out, Austin. What's up? Did that. Then we went to parked in our parking garage, which I'll tell you about that in a minute. It's right across the street from the stadium. Great spot to park, because you have to have a parking pass. We got one because of my brother and sister-in-law. They hooked us up, but I'll tell you why that was a nightmare. Some things are a blessing and a curse, and this is exactly that. What they call it, a monkey's paw or something like that. That's exactly what this is. But so anyway, we go to the game. The game, holy cow! Exactly what I expected. Just a battle of field goals. Just struggle bus for like most of the game. And I knew this was going in. Like, I was like, it's gonna be a battle of field goals, because our quarterback was hurt. He didn't play. Their running back was hurt, and their quarterback's terrible. They're having a bad year. This is not going to be good. All summer though, we've been talking smack to each other on Twitter. Our fans, their fans, because we were going to be good. They were going to be good. They were just joining the SEC. It was going to be awesome. But it didn't turn out the way it was going to be. Anyway, holy cow. The end of this game happens. All chaos breaks loose, but we had gone up by a touchdown, 16-9, I guess it was. And I'm like, we're going to win. So here's the thing. You guys probably don't know this side of me. You should go sit next to me at Mizzou at a football game or at Howell. It doesn't matter. Sit next to me at a football game when I'm rooting on either Howell or Mizzou. I get a little cocky when we get a lead. And so there was only 3 minutes left in the game. It was like 3:54 minutes left in the game, something like that. We're up 16-9. And I'm like, we're going to beat Oklahoma. And we had beaten them the last time they were in Mizzou for homecoming. College game day was there. It was homecoming. It was like, we live this as Mizzou fans. Like, we have video of this. We showed this clip like 50 times during this game of this kickoff return to start the game with Brett Musburger saying, you're looking live at a sold out Faroe Field in Columbia, Missouri. We play that clip. We play it every week. I mean, it is lore for Mizzou. Anyway, so we're going to win this game, right? 4 minutes to go. I'm sorry. This isn't really football talk, but this is life talk for Mike. I just want to tell you, this is what happened this week. So we're going to win, right? I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm like, this is bringing me happiness on a Saturday night. Because the whole thing is like, I get up early in the morning every single day of my life. I get up at 5 o'clock. So this is a struggle that this is a night game. I love the environment of a night game, but you got to remember, I have a 2-hour drive home. And I'm like, oh. And then the thing is, it takes us over an hour and a half to get out of this parking garage. So that adds another hour and a half to a 2-hour drive home. So it's like, oh, this is going to be ugly. And nobody's leaving because it's a close game. So we have 70,000 people. Nobody's leaving because it's within a touchdown. I'm like, oh. Anyway, we're going to win this game, though, so it's going to be worth it. All of a sudden, our dude fumbles the ball. Oklahoma picks it up, runs it in, touchdown, ties the game. I'm like, oh, my God, it's a tie game. We're going to go to overtime. This is going to be the game's going to go on indefinitely because it's going to, it's going to last another hour because it's going to be overtime. Nope. Then they take the lead. I'm like, holy God, we're gonna lose in regulation. They scored 2 touchdowns. It was 23-16 or something. Somehow we came back. There's like a minute left. The guy that used to play wide receiver for Oklahoma, scores this incredible catch. Theo Weiss, second touchdown of the game. By the way, first touchdown of the game was a guy from our high school. Shout out Brett Norfleet. Boom. Second touchdown. I mean, in the back corner, it was unreal. Theo Weiss used to play for Oklahoma. Bam, dagger. Second touchdown of the game. It ties the game. Holy God. It was 23. It was 23 all. So I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I mean, this is why my voice is killing me. So it's 23 all. And then, oh my, so they have the ball like with 50 seconds left. I'm like, dude, I'm a Mizzou fan. They're going to get in field goal range. This is just how my life goes. This is it. I mean, because we sit at like the 40 that they were driving towards for our tickets. Like they're going to get like the 35 is going to happen right in front of me. I mean, it's just going to rip my heart out. This is just how my life goes. This is it. I mean, I'm a Mizzou fan. I've seen this my whole life. It's going to happen again. And there's a couple of Oklahoma fans that bought tickets, around me. They're going to yak it up with the whole, oh, you, and the whole band's playing there. God, I hate their fight song. If you're an Oklahoma fan, I love you, but your fight song is annoying. Oklahoma, Oklahoma. It just lives in my brain rent free. That song. And I know you probably hate our fight song, and that's okay. That's what college football is all about. That fight song, though, it's always lived in my head rent free. Oklahoma, Oklahoma. There's something, that one and the Gators fight song. Those 2 fight songs, ooh, man, if you do not go to those schools, those songs just grind your gears. So anyway, they're playing that song, because they had come back on us and they were yakking it up, man, because they were going back to Norman with the W, and they're going to play that song all the way to the airport. I know they were. I have this narrative going in my head. I am a crazy college football fan because I love my Tigers. Anyway, it was tie game, right? So I'm like, oh, dude, they're going to drive. They're going to kick a field goal. They're going to be playing that song all the way to the airport. And I'm going to have to walk all the way over to my parking garage with all these people in their Oklahoma gear, because there were a lot of them at the game. A lot of them had traveled, with their crimson and cream and all their stuff. And they're going to be, oh, you and us the whole way there. And I hate that when they're on our territory. I'm not going to be mean, but it's just like it grinds your gears, man. So, here I am like, oh, here we go. So, holy cow. I don't even know what happened. We're just watching the quarterbacks rolling out. Jackson Arnold, thank you. And our defense is awesome. Boom, hit that guy. Ball pops out. Number 9 on our defense picks that sucker up. He's a former lacrosse player. Takes it in to the house. We win the game. That never happens for us. So what I'm saying is, I know that was a long-winded story. Even cursed teams get the miracle every now and then. And I'll tell you what, when we fumbled the ball and Oklahoma went in to take the lead on us, or to take the lead on us, I turned to my wife. There were 3 minutes left in the game, and I said, "We lost." And I almost left. I was so disappointed. I almost left. And here's the lesson. Something, I don't know why, but something inside me said, you know what? Stay and just write it out. You're already here. Because we could have beat like a lot of the people and got out of the parking garage a lot faster because nobody was really leaving. And that could have been I was a sourpuss. I was mad. I was like, oh, why do we fumble? And we did, and I was mad, and we almost left. We wrote it out. Here's the lesson in that: as I woke up this morning, don't quit. Like if I'd have quit on that game, I would have been robbed of the joy of that unexpected fumble that we got to take to the house, and the joy of walking those concourses with everybody screaming MIZZOU all the way back to the parking garage. Now, we didn't get home until 1:45 last night, and I got up at 5, so I am exhausted, but I will have that memory forever in my voice because I was screaming. It was wild. And I have an Instagram reel, so go check that out at Be Our Guest Mike of the last play of the game where they gave me a heart attack because like they let Jackson Arnold run free and then he starts lateral in the thing. But it's a memory forever. And it's one of those life lessons where when I look back on it, I could have been sourpuss Mike and left. And I was so close to doing that. And I have done that in my life. Don't get me wrong. I've been sourpuss, bad sport. I'm getting out of here. And I was so close to doing that last night because I'm like, oh, I just want to get home and go to bed. I'll just listen to it on the radio. But something in me said stay. And man, am I glad I stayed. So I'm going to make sure I try to do that next time. The next time I might be a sourpuss Mike again. I don't know. But something told me to stay. And I'm glad that I did. So that's my leadoff story. I've tried not to make it about sports, but it was. But it sure taught me a lesson. And I think sports do teach you lessons if you let them. But, after being hammered by Alabama, like 36-0, God, it felt good to get a win. So we'll see how it goes. Now, I don't feel great next week with the backup quarterback at South Carolina, but we'll see. Anyway, that's what's going on around here. Our our high school football team, though, however, bowed out for the season. We lost to, speaking of Mizzou, we lost to Jeremy Macklin, one of our former great stars at Mizzou. He was the head coach of the Kirkwood Pioneers. And we lost to his football team, and they're going to move on in the state championship. So we're done with high school football for this year. But we have 6 guys on Mizzou from our high school team, so we'll cheer them on as they continue with the Tigers. So basketball is getting ready to start, and we're cheering on the Howell basketball team, and of course Paige's basketball team up in Chicago. They actually play. We're really excited for this. Paige because Paige works on the schedule for the UIC Flames. They play in the Missouri Valley. Check this out. She scheduled an out-of-conference game this year against only the LSU Lady Tigers. If you know anything about women's college basketball, yeah. They're one of the best teams in the country every single year. So they get to play LSU at Chicago. They got a home game against LSU in early December. So it's coming up in like a month. So, man, what a chance for an upset there. So that'd be pretty cool if they could hang with LSU, beat Kim Milwaukee or Milwaukee. I can't never say her last name, but that'd be nice. Anyway, that's what's going on around here. We're going to have a live show tonight. I'll tell you what the password's going to be. I came up with this. Your best savory side for Thanksgiving. We got to give Thanksgiving its due. I know people are putting up Christmas trees. Christmas lights. We talked about this last night over pizza at Shakespeare's before the football game. My brother-in-law, Andy, he's already hung his Christmas lights on his house. He didn't do it. He hired somebody to do it for him. but he has the lights on his house. They're not turned on, but he has his lights up. Got to talk Thanksgiving. So we're going to talk the best savory side for Thanksgiving. That's going to be the password. And then we could talk about all the things going on at Walt Disney World this week. We had the first Christmas party. We could talk about what you thought you saw with Jollywood Nights. We had the first one of those events. We could, whatever's on your mind, let's talk about it. We all that Brazil D23 announcements we could talk about. So let's do that tonight. And Scott, I'm going to let him kind of lead the show tonight because he did something super cool where, and I don't know where he kept track of all this stuff. I wish I would have had the foresight to do this. He has kept a database of every single Disney trip he has taken, and he's kept track of the dates, the resorts, and check this out. He's even kept track of every single restaurant he's eaten at on his Disney trips. So what he's going to do, he's going to be like Jason and start graphing these things and look at trends. Like, does he tend to stay at the moderates more? Does he? Oh, Jason says he posted something. I haven't seen it yet because I haven't slept, but I got to get over there. But there's going to be a lot of statistical information here, but Scott's going to talk about this tonight on the live show. So come on over, join us, questions, comments. Scott's going to break it down. And I'm just going to kind of sit back and be like, dude, wild. Cause it's pretty sweet. Cause he's staying at his final of all the Walt Disney World resorts this month when he goes down and stays at Fort Wilderness at the cabins. So that's kind of interesting. So join us tonight for that. All right, let's hit the feedback from last week's show. Last week, we kind of talked about how, just simply, I truly believe that we are more alike than different. Again, it gets back to just what I think it's kind of all of our perspectives. Like if you're a theater person, I think you see this in theater. Like, I see it in when you go to a college football stadium. Last night I was surrounded by 70,000 people, and even Oklahoma fans, we're all alike. We're passionate for the sport. We love our teams. We're crazy in a good way. We're lunatics. We're absolute lunatics. They hate our fight song. I hate their fight song. It's annoying as anything. Like you just want to stick that trombone up their rear end when they play it, because it just drives them to insanity because it's like it's the opposing team's song. But man, when it's your song, dude, you'll play it like it's your first dance at your wedding. It's something that doesn't make sense. We're so much alike. There's 70,000 people in there, and as long as you're like you have a common goal, and that's what it is, like a passion that you can move mountains. And I truly believe that's kind of what we are as Americans, and I still believe that today. But let's get to the feedback last week, and it was Carrie says, and thank you for this, says, thank you for this episode. I needed to hear this today. I appreciate your honesty and how you care about all of us. And Carrie, I appreciate that so very much. Thank you for that. And thank you for being here. Carrie, when you drop in and say that, that means so much to me, because just that kind word fuels me, because, I don't know. I just appreciate it so much, because sometimes I just wonder, it just makes me happy to know that you care. It really does. Trisha up in Wisconsin. I love your reflection on what it's like to be a season ticket holder. We have season tickets to Badger hockey and see the same folks week to week. Some of them have become unofficial mascots. Hey Guy looks like Santa and wears a knit hat with years of hockey pins. Every game, the camera zooms in on him and he raises and lowers his arms. Every time he puts his hands up in the air, all the fans shout, "Hey!" We also have Phil the dentist. He wears a white sweater with a red turtleneck and brings homemade signs to count the goals. After the Badgers score, he stands up and holds up the numbers as the fans count the goals, and then we shout, "We want more." The resonating response from a wide range of fans is pretty awesome. So we have a guy at the Blues. He's named Towel Guy. And every time the Blues score, and he's done this I had season tickets to the Blues back in the 90s, and I didn't buy them. I sold unofficial programs out on the curb before the game, like right outside the property. And in exchange for selling these unofficial programs, I got a free ticket to the very top row of the Kiel Center, which is now the Enterprise Center where the Blues play. And I got to go to every game for that. They gave me a ticket. And there was this guy still does it. He was towel guy. And every time the Blues score, he runs down from the top bowl to the front row and he waves a towel and the whole arena goes as he waves a towel. And then so if the Blues had scored 3 goals, he goes 1, 2, 3, and then he throws the towel down into the lower bowl, and whoever gets keep it. I guess it's like says Blues or something on it, but it's like a thing. It's kind of same. And like there's a big bell that like the Blues ring is he does it like bong bong bong. So it's kind of the same. It's really cool though. I mean, he's a season ticket and he's got like a get up that he wears, but it's kind of like your guy, the dentist. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So we have did this come from me telling the guy that sits like 3 down from us? He just constantly yells cheater. He was on his game last night, man. He was cheatering Oklahoma to death last night. I mean, all night he was cheatering Oklahoma constantly. I mean, constantly. I mean, dude, a guy got a cramp. Cheater. I'm like, dude, the guy's for real got a cramp. Like you can tell, like he's in pain. Get the guy some cheater. He just needs Gatorade. Cheater. I'm like, he's not cheating. He's really not, but it's okay. He's cheater guy. And then Adam simply says, love you, man. I love you, Adam. Thank you so very much. All right. If you have feedback on today's show or any show, just drop by patreon.com/BRGuest podcast. And I hope you have feedback on today's show because I've been thinking about this one all week and I don't even know the right answer. I'm going to try to give some examples, but who knows? Who knows? Here's what I was thinking about for a topic today, because I was trying to think of something that makes us all happy, but also challenges us at the same time. Here's the deal, and you can kind of see it from the title of today's show. If you could snap your fingers, and I'm not a very good snapper, my fingers are so dry, but if you could snap your fingers and go back for a certain number of hours, let's say 6 hours. Let's go 6 hours. That's a good amount of time, 6 hours. If you could go back for 6 hours to 3 days in your life and relive them, what would those 3 days be? Because some of us, we are really fond of like nostalgia, like me. I love like the 80s. I loved my old neighborhood. I love my grandparents' house. This has challenged me all week because I knew I wanted to ask you guys this question because I knew I wanted to solicit your feedback on this so that we could have this for the show the following week, next week. When I thought about this, one thing did keep coming in my mind. The one thing I would do probably for 6 hours, I would like to have, because I know that this place does not exist anymore. I would like, and this is such a weird thing, but I think it's because I went into the job that I did in education. If I could, I would love to go back to my elementary school and relive one day back at North County Christian School is an elementary school, because I really don't think that kind of education exists anymore. Because like when I went to elementary school, it was so different than even where I taught elementary school. We sat in rows. We said the pledge every morning. We only had one class for every grade. I know it sounds like I was like, out on the frontier or something, but I really wasn't. I was in Ferguson, Missouri, in, the early to mid 80s. We didn't have a gymnasium in our school. My dad helped build it. My dad was a construction worker. My dad and my grandpa both. We did a big fundraiser. Everybody, all the parents did a big fundraiser, and we finally got a gym when I was in 6th grade. Before that, we only had physical education outside or in this like multi-purpose room, which was just like a room with tile. but it's just regular size ceiling, just like a you couldn't it wasn't a gym. It was just had a regular like 7-foot ceiling, so you couldn't do anything big. Um, but I just remember like making friends there. Tim was my good friend. Jeremy was my good friend. Steve was my good friend. I can remember like the smells of the cafeteria, how I always brought my lunch because there was a rule at this school. If you bought your lunch, you had to try everything that came on the plate. And I was a picky eater. I was not going to eat those ugly peaches or pears or anything like that. So I always told my mom, I'm bringing my lunch. But I can remember like the smell of the cafeteria. And I remember like there was a teacher's like a juice machine. It was like a soda machine, but it only sold juices. It's weird how you remember what you remember about elementary school. And I think I've mentioned this too, that we had certain kind of books in our school. They were called Becca books, and they were consumables. So you wrote in your books every day. And basically, what you would do for math every day, you did a certain page, you did a page every day. You would tear it out and it had a skill on it, whether it was like 2-digit addition, if you're like in kindergarten or first grade, and it would tell you, give examples at the top, some practice problems, and then the back side of the paper might be your homework you would take home and you turn it in for a grade. You do that, get a grade on it. Next day, maybe 3-digit. And you just worked your way through the book. And that's kind of the curriculum. That's how the school year went. Very, very simple, but very, very effective. Is like public schools nowadays, for one thing, you don't even have textbooks for the most part, and definitely nothing's consumable anymore. But you got just a stack of books. You got a math book, you got a science book, you got a social studies book, you got a geography book, you got a spelling book, you got a grammar book. I mentioned we had a Bible because it's a Christian school, but it was so different. Uh, we went to chapel twice a week, because it was and it, the school was funded by a Nazarene church, but we didn't have buses because it was a small school. Everybody got dropped off, but it was just like it was a small school. I remember like going out. We had a little playground. Our playground was super small. Like we didn't have much to play on. We had a tire swing. Like it was a big tractor tire, a couple of them. There's 2 tractor tires. You could just like push each other back and forth on them. And we used to kill each other on that thing. Like you'd hit the pole, boom, and like try to knock each other off. That was kind of fun. There was like kind of like a wooden jungle gym thing. I just think and we played a game called like butt ball, where like you had a tennis ball and you'd like throw it at each other, and if you didn't hit the ball, tap up to the wall quick enough, had to go stand on the wall and throw it at each other. Crazy, crazy. But I would just kind of like to revisit that maybe for 6 hours and just see like, was it cool, like, or was it just to compare it to like since I taught elementary school, like how was it significantly different from my teaching? Because I think that'd be interesting. So that's one place I think I would like to go back. Another place I would like to go back would be to my childhood home, which was where I grew up until 6th grade in Florissant, Missouri, which is the city next to Ferguson. And it was a very, very small starter home. And but it had everything we needed. And the thing is, when you grow up in a house, this is my philosophy on this. This is where I grew up from the time I was born until we moved the summer before 7th grade, so through 6th grade. I knew nothing different. So I didn't know this was a small house. Um, it was great. Like this house had everything. Like in the backyard when I was playing Corey League baseball, my dad put a piece of wood in the backyard 40 feet away, and he put a home plate 40 feet away. So I had a pitching rubber and a home plate. And every day when my dad got home from work, and my dad worked outside, he was a construction worker, he would get his catcher's mitt. I would get my baseball glove, and we would pitch to each other every day in the summer. And so much that there was no grass where the pitching rubber was, and there was no grass at home plate every single day in our backyard. And then when I got a little bit older, it was 47 feet apart because the distance from Bantam baseball to midget baseball, those are like the leagues, like that's the distance has changed. And so the bald spots in our backyard changed. Um, we had a small living room, but when I got a little bit older, because my sister and I shared a bedroom until when we were small, then we took up about a third of the living room, and my dad built a wall about a third through the living room, and that third of the living room became my bedroom. And I remember I was so excited that I got my own bedroom in that house. But then I remember the first couple nights, I was freezing in my bedroom. And then we realized that I had no vents in my bedroom, that part of the house. So I remember I had to get a space heater. And I thought that was so cool because I controlled my own heat in my bedroom. That was always exciting. But what was most exciting about living in that house, I think, was just, back then we rode our bikes and we explored our world. My friend Ryan was my best friend. He lived across the street. We were the same age. He didn't go to school with me. I went to North County Christian. He went to Sacred Heart. He went to the Catholic school. And but every day when we get home, we'd hop our bikes and we'd ride up to the public school, which was called Duchesne. And like, you just rode around the public school. You'd play on the playground. There was a public park called Bangert Park. It had a big tank, like you could play on the tank, or they had a playground. There was a public library. You could go there. There's a public swimming pool. We had swimming passes. You could go there. There was a Kentucky Fried Chicken. My grandparents lived around the block. We'd visit them. My other grandparents lived about 5 minutes away. We'd go see them. And it was just that exploration. The funny thing is, like, we didn't have social media. We didn't have phones. We got walkie-talkies one year for Christmas. Like, I got a set and he got a set. And we thought that was the coolest thing, that we had walkie-talkies because we lived across the street from each other. They didn't really reach each other to like talk from our houses, but we'd use them on our bikes. I'd like to go back to those days. Those days were innocent. We didn't have phones and technology and stuff, but man, did we have fun. Now, I'll tell you what, we played our Atari 2600 a ton. We played Atari 2600 a lot. We played a ton of Pitfall. We played a ton of Frogger. Those were our games. I remember getting that Frogger game, and he had Empire Strikes Back. We played those three games a ton. I had Frogger. He had Empire Strikes Back, and we both had Pitfall. And we played those three games a ton. Okay, so those are two. And you're probably gonna be like, you're gonna talk about your wedding day. You're gonna talk. You might say like when Mallory was born. I'll tell you what, I'm not going back to the day Mallory was born. And I love Mallory. Don't get me wrong. She's my pride and joy of all. But man, the day she was born was this most stressful day of my life. Like, I was so worried for Pam in the delivery room, like with all the beeps and bops and all the doctors. I told Pam, I was like, we're never having another kid because I don't want you to ever be in that kind of danger, that kind of stress. I don't want to do that again. Because seriously, the doctors were coming to me asking me if I was okay during when Mallory was born, because they were bringing me ice because I was getting ready to pass out. Yeah, I'm not good in hospitals. I am not. I was pale white when Mallory was born. Pam was doing way better than me because she'd had another kid before. I had not been in a situation like that. Whew, I'm not good. But I don't know. My third day, it's so hard. I was thinking about this. I would probably go back to like a Christmas Eve at my grandparents' house, maybe when I was like 9 or 10, where my cousins were there, grandma and grandpa were still alive. And it was just that joy of Christmas where Santa was still 100% with us. The joy of Christmas was still 100% there. Um, my aunt and uncle, because my aunt passed away my young, and she was a joy in the family. And the whole family was we got together on Christmas Eve. My cousins came up from Poplar Bluff, and we'd always have a big dinner at my grandparents' house at about noon on Christmas Eve. And it was always exciting. The kids were always there. My cousins came up and my sister was there. So the four cousins are all together, and all the presents were stacked under the Christmas tree. My grandpa had the train going. He'd have a fire roaring in the fireplace. Not a big house, but it was a house full of love. And the anticipation from the kids were like, oh my gosh, we saw all these presents from the grandparents, from our cousins, from our aunts and uncles. We all wanted to open them, but you couldn't open the presents till after lunch. My grandma called it dinner. Couldn't open them till after dinner. So we'd have to sit there. And of course, all the TV, we'd have to watch football. Always like the Cowboys would be playing or something on TV. So all the adults are talking. We'd have to have dinner. Everybody ate so slow, it felt like. Then after dinner, everybody had to have dessert. My grandma would always make a pecan pie or a chocolate pie or something. Everybody's eating pie. Then after that, everybody to do the dishes. We're like, holy smokes, could we just get to the presents? And then everybody do the dishes. I remember my grandma had a dishwasher. It was like one of the first dishwashers I ever saw, but it was like a rolling dishwasher. Like you rolled it out of the utility room and you hook these hoses up to the sink. It was like a portable one. It was funny, but you put everything in there and then wash the dishes. And then finally, we all kind of trickled into the living room, and then somebody would play Santa and pass out the presents to everybody. And then we opened them one by one, and everybody watched each other. But looking back, nothing topped that. Like we're all in one room, we're all joking with each other, we're all loving each other, and it was the greatest. I mean, it was the greatest because looking back, I know in the wintertime, my parents didn't have much money at all because my dad didn't work. He was a construction worker. Like I said, like he worked in concrete. And once the ground froze, there was no work in the wintertime. I mean, I know that. And one of the presents my grandparents got my parents every Christmas, they got a big box. And it was always a big box of practical items. They always got a box of like Tide, um man, like Cascade, like towels. It was always practical stuff that would, and when I look back at it as a kid, I always thought that was weird. That was so weird. And there was always $100 in the box, like cash. And my aunt and uncle, Randy and Pam, my dad's brother and his wife, they got the exact same thing. And I always thought, what a weird Christmas present from my grandma and grandpa. Because it wasn't wrapped. It was just like a big box of like, like I said, like laundry detergent, Cascade, uh, stuff you'd use around the house, all the practical things. And I always thought, God, it's such a weird Christmas present, needing cash. But now that I look back, what a loving present because what it did was it helped carry the winter, and you don't see it when you're 7 or 8 or 9, but they were giving love. And it's one of those things like I'd like to go back and to see that like through those eyes one more time. 'Cause that's probably I remember that one year I got a gift called Capsella. I don't know if you know what that was. It was like Legos for kids, but they were little capsules and you put them together and they would float and they had like little gears in them and you could they'd like a kind of like float in a bathtub or something like that. And I was like consumed by that. It's kind of sold as like a scientific like Lego kit. And I loved it. Don't get me wrong. So I was like in the bathtub at my grandparents' house, like trying to make it float with my cousin Chris. And he's going to be a grandpa. He just found out he's going to be a grandpa this week. Shout out, Chris. I can't believe you're going to be a grandpa. You beat me to it. Congratulations to you because I'm the oldest. I'm glad you did. He's going to be a great grandpa. Not a great grandpa. You're going to be a good grandpa. You're going to be an awesome grandpa. Proud of you, bud. But yeah, looking back, you just don't see things. But when you see them later, you're like, oh my gosh, that box of junk that I thought, oh my gosh, what a stupid present. That was the greatest gift of all. It was a gift of love to carry them through the wintertime when times were tough. So that's probably my three. I don't know. They probably change as the wind blows. But here's the question: what three magical days would you go back to? And it's going to change. I'm not holding you to it, but let us know. Patreon.com/BeOurGuestPodcast. More than anything, it's a little escape, right? It's a little kind of fun thing to think about, but also it it's the good stuff because I got a warm feeling in my heart thinking about those Christmas Eves with my grandparents and my aunt and uncle, and just that feeling of the fireplace roaring. And my grandpa always had Christmas music playing on a record player, mind you, like Barbara Mandrell or the Oak Ridge Boys or something. My grandpa loved Kenny Rogers. My grandpa loved his Kenny Rogers. Um, Whatever it was, the Gatlin brothers. My grandpa, man, he loved his music, but it was always records. He had a record player right in the corner of the living room. But what would it be for you? Let me know. Patreon.com/BRGuest podcast. But most of all, I just want to thank you for the support of the show. Obviously, we couldn't do it. Honest to God, we couldn't do it without you because they just our video hosting place that lets us do all of this, connect and everything, doubled our prices, and we couldn't do it without you. I cover everything, but you guys, with your support, we make this happen. But more than that, it's absolutely your friendship. Um, I on social media this week, I've seen people lose friendships, and that just tears me up because it should all be about making friendships. Like we have so much more in common, like I said, than divide us. And everybody was friends, and everybody should be friends. And life's too short, you know. Like let's all be friends. Let's find ways to solve problems together and laugh and be happy. Every day that you're mad or sad, that's a day that you lost. So I just want to know I appreciate you. I appreciate you so very much. So let's think about those three. This is a tough exercise, man, because I was walking this morning like, okay, am I gonna make this one? Nah, oh man, maybe. So those are three I went with. But if you ask me in an hour, it'd probably change. So patreon.com/BRGS podcast, 3 magical days. Let's share them next week. But until then, give us a call tonight. Savory Thanksgiving sides. We're going to be starving. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Take care of yourself. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Until we talk, I'll see you real soon. I love that idea. High school drama. Ooh, a state comp. Yeah, see, I was even thinking like my last baseball game that I pitched in high school, but we lost. We were we were tied when I got taken out, but I don't blame that on Eddie Woods, who came in relief. No, he was a great guy. The guy who hit the home run off him was a really good hitter, Jason Kavanaugh. I still, not that I remember that from McClure North, but I do. That's a good one. Oh, that's so funny. That is so funny. All right, I'm going to edit this thing, get it up. Hope you guys have a good Sunday. I will talk to you guys later. That is a good one, though. Yes. Yeah, the wedding weekend. I'm going to be in trouble because I didn't say that. You just got me in trouble. I love you guys. Take care. I'll see you. Bye.